I always thought heartbreak had a sound. A crack. A snap. Something sharp. But the moment Arya said yes to Adrian's confession, the world went silent. I stood there behind the door of her office. The same office where she once told me she couldn't sleep without hearing my voice. The same office where she kissed me first, pulling me into a world I didn't belong to, her world of high power, high stakes, and hidden emotions. I was ready today. Ready to tell the whole company that Arya Valturi wasn't just my CEO, she was my wife. Ready to stop hiding. Ready to be proud of us. But she don't. And when Adrian Valher polished, Perfect X, the man everyone thought she'd marry, confessed he still loved her, she didn't hesitate. She whispered yes so softly I almost believed she was breaking. I felt my chest cave in. My breath stuttered. My grip on the bouquet I brought for her slipped until roses hit the floor like broken promises. But the real twist came seconds later. When Arya saw me standing there, her eyes widened. Her lips trembled, and she said something I never expected to hear from the woman who once begged me never to leave her. Ethan, I didn't know you were listening. And then, with the coldest voice I had ever heard from her, maybe it's better this way. I stepped into Arya's office with my heart still shaking from what I heard. Arya, I said, tell me I misheard you. Tell me you didn't say yes to him. She stood behind her desk, stiff and guarded. Adrian lingered near her, but I refused to look at him. I just watched her eyes, hoping for even a small sign that I still mattered. Please, I whispered. Just tell me why you did that. My chest felt tight, like something inside me was tearing. I had come here ready to fight for us, but she looked at me like I was already gone. She finally breathed out. Ethan, our marriage was a mistake. The words hit me harder than any punch. No, I said. You don't get to throw everything away like that. She flinched, but kept her arms crossed. You deserve someone simpler. Someone who won't drown with me. I shook my head. I didn't marry you because you were simple. I married you because I loved you. Adrian stepped closer like he owned the place. She made her choice, he said. Accept it. I glared at him, anger burning hot in my chest. Stay out of this. I'm talking to my wife. Arya lowered her gaze. Ethan, stop, she whispered. There's nothing left to fix. I stepped closer anyway. Then look at me and say, you don't love me. She stayed silent. The silence cut deeper than anything she could have said. Please, I begged. If you ever cared about me, tell me the truth. She shook her head but kept her eyes down. I can't do this with you, she said. Adrian sighed loudly, like my pain annoyed him. You heard her, he muttered. My hands trembled as I backed away. I felt like the floor was moving, like the room was swallowing me whole. Clara walked in then, holding a stack of papers. When she saw my face, her smile fell. Ethan, I'm sorry, she whispered. You knew about this? I asked. She nodded weakly. Adrian asked me to help arrange the meeting. I thought it was harmless. I didn't know Arya would. She stopped, looking ashamed. My throat tightened again. So everyone knew, except me. Arya lifted her head at that. Like the words hurt her, but she didn't come toward me. Ethan, please leave, she said. This is already painful enough. Painful enough for who? For her? For me? I couldn't even breathe. I thought we were building a life, I said quietly. I thought we were in this together. Arya shook her head. You gave up too much for me. I won't let you lose more. I stared at her, shocked by how distant she sounded. You don't get to decide what I lose, I replied. Adrian stepped forward again, annoyed. You should go, Ethan. I ignored him. Arya? Was any of it real? Her lips trembled, but she forced herself to speak. It was real once, she said, but it can't be anymore. Those words stabbed straight through me. I walked out of the office without looking back. Each step felt heavier than the last. The hallway lights blurred as tears filled my eyes. I reached the elevator, but my hands shook so hard I almost missed the button. Ethan, Clara called softly behind me. I really am sorry. I didn't turn around. Sorry doesn't fix anything, I said. The elevator doors opened, and I stepped inside, feeling like I was leaving an entire life behind. When the doors closed, I finally let the tears fall. I didn't know who I was without her. That terrified me. I stepped into the cold night, letting the air hit my face like truth. Neon lights glowed on the wet street, bright enough to show the ring still on my finger. I stared at it, feeling my chest twist. "We promised forever," I whispered. With shaking hands, I pulled it off. The metal scraped my skin like it didn't want to leave. I held it for a moment, then let it fall onto the pavement. The sound was small, but it felt like my whole world breaking apart. I stood there, unable to breathe anymore. I didn't remember how many drinks I had. I only knew the room kept spinning. I slammed another empty glass on the bar. "Give me one more," I muttered. My voice sounded wrecked. "Make it strong." The bartender hesitated. I stared at the counter, refusing to meet his eyes. "Just pour it," I said. My hand shook as I reached for my wallet. A firm grip caught my wrist. "That's enough, Ethan." I knew that voice. "Let go," I said. He pulled me up from the stool anyway. "You can barely stand. We're leaving." "I don't care," I said, trying to yank free. "Let me drink." "No." His tone stayed calm, but his grip tightened. "You're done." I laughed bitterly. "Everything's done. That's the point." He didn't argue. He just dragged me out into the cold air. The night lights blurred into streaks as we walked. "Why are you even here?" I asked. "You didn't come home?" he said. "So I found you." I stumbled. Rue caught my arm before I fell. "I'm fine," I said. "You're not," he replied. "Talk before you collapse." I shook my head. "I can't." He sighed and pulled me toward the apartment. "Then Soren can help." My chest tightened. "No, not him. He's already there," Rue said. "And he's worried." When we reached the apartment, the door opened before we even knocked. Soren stood there, eyes quiet and serious. "You look terrible," he said. "Thanks," I muttered. I tried my best. He stepped aside. "Sit down." I dropped onto the couch, my head spinning. Rue crossed his arms. "Start talking." "I don't want to," I said. "Just let me sleep." Soren sat in front of me, elbows on his knees. "Ethan, we can't help you if we don't know what happened. Don't need help." Rue exhaled sharply. "Yes, you do. You look like you ran into a wall." I laughed weakly. "Close enough." Soren leaned closer. "Tell us." I rubbed my face with both hands. "Fine, you want the truth?" They waited. I took a shaky breath. Arya was my wife. Silence hit the room like a punch. Soren's eyes widened. "You're what?" "My wife," I repeated. "We were married. Secretly." Rue sat down beside me. "And she ended it?" "She didn't just end it," I said. "She threw me away, like I was nothing." Soren shook his head in disbelief. "You're serious? Why would I lie about something like that?" My voice cracked. "She said our marriage was a mistake. She told me I deserved someone simpler." Drew leaned back, jaw tight. "Ethan, Arya's world isn't simple." "It never was." "I know," I said. "I thought I could handle it." He looked at me. "You couldn't. No one could." I stared at the floor. "I gave up everything for her. My art. My time. My peace. I followed her into every shadow she walked through. I kept her secrets. I hid my life from everyone. And for what?" My throat closed. "For her to choose him instead?" Soren spoke softly. "We would have helped you, you know. If you told us." "I couldn't," I said. "She wanted our marriage quiet." And I agreed, because I trusted her. Rue's voice softened. "Her world eats people alive. You walked in there alone." I whispered. "I know." My chest tightened again. I pressed my palms to my eyes, but the tears still came. "I don't even know who I am anymore." Neither of them spoke. The room stayed painfully quiet. My breath broke, and suddenly everything inside me collapsed. I bent forward, shaking, trying to breathe through the pain. "She was my whole life," I choked out. "And now she's gone." A warm hand rested on my shoulder. Rue didn't say anything. He didn't have to. For the first time in months, didn't feel completely alone, but it didn't stop the truth from sinking in. I had lost everything. I walked back into the company building with my resignation letter in my hand. My chest felt hollow, but my steps stayed steady. Get it done, I told myself. End it clean. The lobby buzzed louder than usual. Cameras, reporters, lights. I frowned. What's going on? Security guard whispered. The CEO and Adrian Vale are holding a press conference. My heart froze. Of course they are, I muttered. I moved closer. And there they stood, Arya and Adrian, side by side, like a perfect picture. Adrian spoke first. We're happy to announce our renewed relationship. Renewed. The words scraped across my skin. Arya stood so straight, so composed. I waited for her eyes to find mine, but she kept her gaze locked on the cameras. A reporter asked, Miss Valteri, is this sudden? Arya gave a small smile. Some things return when the timing is right. The crowd clapped. I felt sick. Timing, I whispered. Right? Sure. Adrian wrapped an arm around her waist. We've always had a bond, he said. My jaw tightened. I wanted to shout, I'm your husband, but the words stayed trapped in my throat. She didn't look at me once. She acted like I was a stranger, less than a stranger. Nothing. I bit the inside of my cheek until I tasted blood. Just resign, I whispered to myself. Get it over with. The cameras clicked nonstop. When the press conference finally ended, the crowd scattered. The lights dimmed. The energy faded. Arya stepped off the platform. Her hands trembled. She crossed her arms tightly like she was holding herself together. She looked everywhere. Walls, floor, ceiling, everywhere except at me. I stood only a few steps away. Arya, I said under my breath. Her shoulders stiffened. She still didn't look. Adrian walked past me with a smug smirk. You shouldn't be here, he said. I ignored him. Arya, I said again. She flinched, saw it, but she stayed silent. I moved toward her. I want to hear it from you, I said quietly. Was everything fake? Her breath hitched. But before she could answer, Clara rushed between us. Ethan, she whispered. Please, come with me. I followed her into an empty hallway. My heart thudded hard with every step. Clara closed the door behind us and lowered her voice. I'm so sorry about all of this. You already said that, I replied. It doesn't change anything. She looked down. I know. But I have something you need to see. She held out a small USB. My stomach twisted. What's this? Clara hesitated. It's the truth Arya won't say. I stared at the USB. Truth? About what? About why she did all of this? She said. About why she let Adrian back in. My throat tightened. I don't want her excuses. It's not excuses, Clara whispered. It's what she's hiding. Please, take it. I didn't move. Part of me wanted to throw it at the wall. Another part wanted to grab it and open it right there. Why give this to me? Because you deserve to know, she said. And because Arya won't tell you herself. I swallowed hard. Is she afraid? Guilty? What? Clara shook her head. I can't say more. Just don't judge her until you watch it. I clenched my fist around the USB. I don't know if I want the truth anymore. Clara's eyes softened. You still love her? That's why it hurts. I didn't answer. I walked back toward the main hall. Arya stood there alone now, staring at the floor. When she heard my steps, she finally looked up just for a second. Her eyes carried something sharp, almost pleading. I stopped. My chest twisted painfully. She opened her mouth like she wanted to speak. I turned away. No, I whispered. Not this time. I walked toward the exit. Every step felt heavier. The glass doors opened, letting in cold air that stung my skin. I didn't look back. I left the building, the memories, the love, the lies dash everything. And in my pocket, the USB burned like a choice I wasn't ready to make. I sat alone in my room as the USB loaded on my laptop, and my chest tightened with every second. When the first video opened, I saw Arya standing in the boardroom, her hands clenched on the table. A man shouted at her, telling her she would lose her position if she didn't reconcile with Adrian. Another voice said the company needed a safe partner, not someone like me. Hearing my name broke something inside me, whispered, "Why didn't you tell me?" even though she couldn't hear me. The second clip played, showing Arya shaking her head. She said, "I won't use Ethan for leverage." They warned her that protecting me made her a target too. She looked scared, but still told them no. My throat burned. I had no idea she fought for me in rooms I never knew existed. Mira Oshima arrived after I called her. She walked in with her usual sharp eyes and said, "Show me everything." I handed her the USB, and she started working. She muttered they hid more layers. "Someone wanted you blind," I asked. "Why keep me out?" Mira tapped the screen and said, "Arya tried to shield you, that's why." Her words made me furious and grateful at the same time. Clara knocked and entered with worry on her face. She asked, "Did you find anything?" I said, "Only reasons to feel stupid." Mira added, "He's not stupid, he's hurt." Clara placed a hand on my shoulder and said, "Talk to her." I told her I don't know if she'll talk to me. Clara replied, "Make her." Mira uncovered another file. She said, "Listen." Arya's voice filled the room. She said, "If they go after Ethan, I'll take the hit. Leave him alone." Someone replied, "Then silence is your only choice." Arya begged, "Please. Don't drag him into your wars." I felt my breath stop. She had chosen silence to keep me safe, but silence was also the knife that cut me. I whispered, "Why didn't you trust me with this?" Mira said, "She trusted you too much." "That's the problem?" I asked. "How is that a problem?" Mira answered, "She thought you'd rush in and get hurt." Clara added, "She knows you. She knows you'd burn the world for her." Hearing that made my anger collapse into fear. Maybe they were right. Maybe I would have. Mira packed up her laptop and said, "You need to face her tonight." Clara nodded, said, "Yeah, I have to." My mind felt heavy, like every thought was a stone dragging me down. I grabbed my jacket and left before I lost my nerve. The night air hit me as I reached the parking lot. I saw Arya walking toward her car. I called Arya, "Stop." She froze but didn't turn. I walked closer and said, "I saw the USB." Her shoulders shook. I said, "Why didn't you tell me? Why did you carry everything alone?" She whispered, "Please don't." I said I deserve answers. She shook her head, tears falling. She whispered, "If I talk, you'll get hurt." I stepped in front of her. I said, "I'm already hurt." Shh. She covered her mouth as more tears came. I whispered, "Let me in." She whispered, "I can't." I said, "Arya, look at me." She looked up with eyes full of fear. I said, "We fight together or we fall alone." She whispered, "Then let me fall." I reached for her hand, but she pulled away and said, "I'm sorry." She walked past me, trembling, silent, breaking with every step. I wanted to follow, but something in her eyes told me she wasn't ready. I stood there in the cold, my hand shaking, my heart torn open by the truth she hid and the pain she carried alone. I stayed frozen, watching her disappear into the darkness, and every part of me screamed to chase her. But I knew pushing her now would only break her more. I whispered her name into the empty lot, hoping she could somehow hear me. I told myself I would find a way back to her no matter how much truth she tried to bury. For us, I woke up before sunrise, the weight in my chest softer than before, but still there. Rue kept telling me to move, to breathe, to be a human again. So I walked to the corner of my room and opened the old wooden box that once defined me. Brushes, colors, a part of the man I used to be. I whispered, "Let's try this again," even though my hands shook. The canvas stood waiting, and I felt something pull me in. Rue barged into my place 2 hours later. "You're actually painting," he said. I nodded and told him, "I need to remember who I was before her." He crossed his arms and said, "Good, because you were someone before Arya. And you'll be someone after, too." I replied, "I don't know if I can," he said. "Then fake it until you can." When Soren arrived, he stared at the canvas and whistled. "Damn, Ethan, you've still got it," I told him. "I'm trying." He tapped my shoulder and said, "Trying is enough right now." I asked him, "Do you really think so?" He nodded. Better than drowning in the past. Mira came in next with her laptop. "Move," she said, pushing a chair beside me. I laughed. "You didn't even say hi." "You don't need a hi." "You need a website?" I asked. "A what now?" She said, "If you're rebuilding, then rebuild loud." She took photos of my half-finished work and uploaded them. I said, "No one will care," she replied. "People love honesty. And your art bleeds honesty." By afternoon, I had 3 messages asking for commissions. I stared at the screen and whispered, "Is this real?" Mira leaned over and said, "Yes, genius. Now answer them." Rue slapped my back and said, "Look at him." Starting his villain arc, Soren added more like healing arc. I smiled. Maybe both. Still that night, when the world got quiet, my chest tightened again. I stood on my balcony and stared at the city lights. I whispered Arya, even though I knew she wasn't there. In my dreams, she always stood at her own balcony, calling my name like the wind carried her voice to me. I hated that I still reached for her. I hated that I still loved her. I told myself, "You're getting stronger," but strength didn't erase ache. Days passed. Paint filled my fingers again. Work filled my hours again. I answered clients and delivered sketches. Rue kept dropping food at my door. Soren kept checking on me. Mira kept pushing me forward. For the first time in weeks, the mirror showed a version of me I recognized. Tired, bruised, but not broken. I whispered, "You're coming back." Then a message arrived. Someone wanted to buy my latest painting for a price so high I thought it was a joke. I ran to show Rue and Soren. Rue yelled, "You're kidding!" Soren grabbed me and said, "Ethan, this is huge." Told them, "I don't know what to say," they said. "Say yes." So I did. When the buyer confirmed, I felt something warm rise in my chest. I actually smiled. A real one. Rue shouted, "Finally." Soren clapped and said, "There he is." I whispered, "I miss this feeling." I held the painting in my hands, the colors shining under the studio lights. For a moment, I felt proud. For a moment, I felt free. But when I turned toward the window, something froze inside me. A shadow stood outside, just far enough to hide her face, but close enough for me to feel the truth. Arya, watching, silent, gone before. I could call her name. My smile faded, and the ghost of her presence wrapped around me again. I whispered, "Why now?" But the night gave no answer. I stood there, holding the painting, wondering if healing ever truly begins. Tonight, I was locking up my small studio when I heard soft footsteps behind me. I turned, and my breath froze. Arya stood there, her eyes red, her hands shaking, like she was holding back the world. "Ethan, please don't walk away," she whispered. I swallowed hard. "Why are you here, Arya?" She stepped closer. "Because I owe you the truth." I shook my head. "Truth? You had months?" "I couldn't," she said, voice breaking. "They wouldn't let me." "What do you mean they?" I asked. She looked down. "The board?" "My family, Adrian. Everyone kept pushing me, threatening me." I felt anger rise. "So you threw me away to keep your throne?" "No," she cried. "I never wanted Adrian back," I said. "But you let them parade you beside him like nothing ever happened." She whispered, "I thought I could protect you if I chose the path they wanted." My voice cracked. "You protected me by breaking me." Before she could answer, a slow clap echoed from the side hallway. Adrian stepped out, his smirk sharp enough to cut. "Touching," he said, "but unnecessary." Ethan was just a phase. I clenched my fists. "Say that again?" He shrugged. "She needed comfort. You were convenient. That's all." Rhea spun toward him. "Stop. Don't twist my words." He raised a brow. "Then tell him the truth. Tell him he was a mistake." Arya shook her head violently. "He wasn't a mistake. He was the only real thing I ever had." My chest tightened. "Arya," she looked at me with tears running down her cheeks. "I married you because you were the only man who saw me. Not the CEO, not the heiress, just me." I stepped back. "Then why didn't you trust me?" "I was scared," she said. "They threatened to destroy you, your career, your life. I thought leaving was the only way to keep you safe." I whispered. You chose for me. She covered her face. I know, and I hate myself for it. I stared at her shaking form, memories slamming into me, her laughter, our vows. The quiet nights where we held each other like the world wasn't hunting her. I said, do you even know what you did to me? She sobbed every night, every day. I regret it all. Adrian stepped forward. Enough, Arya. You're embarrassing yourself. She glared at him. I don't care. Not anymore, he scoffed. You belong with someone like me. Someone who can carry your world. I cut in. She doesn't belong to anyone. Arya reached for my hand. Ethan, please, don't leave. Not yet. For a moment, my heart lurched toward her. I wanted to pull her in. I wanted to erase everything. I wanted to go back to the nights where her heartbeat steadied mine, but the wound was still bleeding, and her regret was too late. I said softly, Arya, I'm not ready to forgive you. She flinched. No. But please, don't walk away. I shook my head. If I stay tonight, I'll fall again, and I can't survive another drop. Her voice cracked. Ethan, please. I still know, I whispered. Don't say it. She bit her lip, tears falling harder. Then what am I supposed to do? Live with the choices you made, I said. Just like I lived with mine. She stepped toward me, but I moved back. Don't, I said. Not tonight. Her knees buckled as I turned away. I heard her cry my name, but I didn't look back. When I reached the end of the hallway, I sensed someone watching. Adrian stood beside her, silent now, expression cold. But his eyes held something new. Realization he finally understood. Arya still loved me, and he could never replace what I was to her. I was finishing a sketch when someone knocked hard on my studio door. I opened it and froze. Evelyn Cade, cold eyes, sharp suit, and the board's most feared strategist stood there. Ethan Croswell, she asked. I nodded slowly. What does the board want with me now? She stepped inside without waiting. You need to see this. She placed a folder on my desk. Adrian Vale has been manipulating financial data. He used your name in the reports to force your removal and push Arya into a relationship the board approved. Ow. My stomach twisted. You're saying he framed me? Yes, she said. And worse, he blocked Arya from defending you. She tried, Ethan, but Adrian had leverage. Oh, I whispered, so she wasn't lying. Evelyn tapped the folder. This goes public in an hour. You deserve to know before the world burns. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed, non-stop news alerts, messages, chaos exploding. Adrian Vale's scandal was everywhere. I breathed out shakily. What happens now? That's up to you, she said. You can speak to the press. Or you can stay silent. Your voice will shape her future. I looked at the window, watching the city lights blur. Why bring this to me? Because, Evelyn said, you were the only honest thing in Arya Valtteri's life, and now everyone will see it. Before I could reply, the door slammed open. Adrian stormed in, face twisted with fury. You think you won, Ethan? I stayed seated, calm. I didn't do anything. He slammed his hand on my desk. You showed them the files, didn't you? I shook my head. I didn't even open the folder until 10 minutes ago. How do you ruin me? He shouted. No, I said quietly. Karma doesn't need me. You handled it yourself. He froze, breathing heavy. Evelyn stepped forward. Mr. Vale, the board is waiting to escort you out? Adrian's jaw clenched. Arya will come with me. She has to. I finally stood. She doesn't belong to you. Not anymore. He glared at me. You think she'll run back to you after everything? You're nothing, maybe, I said, but I never lied to her, and I never used her. His face cracked, just for a second, before guards appeared at the door. Evelyn nodded at them. Take him. Adrian fought, shouting my name like I caused every downfall in his life. But all I felt was a strange, quiet emptiness, and a tiny spark of relief. After they dragged him out, Evelyn closed the door. You have a choice, she said. Speak or stay silent. Both paths have consequences. I ran a hand through my hair. If I speak, Arya's career will be destroyed. And if you don't? She asked. She survived this, I murmured. But she'll carry the shame alone. Evelyn's gaze softened. You still love her. I didn't answer, and she didn't need me to. When I arrived at the company, chaos filled the lobby, cameras flashing, workers whispering, the board moving like a storm. And in the center of it all, Arya. Her face was pale, her posture stiff, but her eyes were searching the crowd until they found me. Ethan, she whispered, barely audible from across the hall. I stepped closer. Reporters turned their cameras to me like wolves sensing blood. Arya swallowed hard. Did you release the files? No, I said. Someone else did. She closed her eyes in relief, then guilt washed over her again. I'm so sorry, Arya, I said. What happens now is your fight, not mine. She reached for my hand, but stopped halfway. Do you hate me? I shook my head. If I did, this would be easy. Her lips trembled. What will you tell them? I looked at the sea of cameras, then back at her. Nothing. She gasped. You'd protect me after everything? I'm not protecting you, I said softly. I'm choosing myself. Her eyes filled with tears. Behind her, Adrian was dragged out of an office by security, shouting, cursing, defeated. But Arya didn't look at him. Her eyes stayed locked on mine the whole time, filled with pain, filled with regret, filled with something that still felt like hope. And for the first time, I didn't walk away out of weakness. I walked away because the future was finally mine again. It was almost midnight when I heard the soft knocking. I thought it was the wind until I opened the door and saw her. Arya stood in the rain, soaked to the bone, breathing hard like she'd run all the way here. Ethan, she whispered, please, let me in. I stepped aside without a word. She walked into my tiny apartment, dripping water onto the floor. I handed her a towel, but she didn't take it. I need to talk, she said. I nodded. Then talk. She took a shaky breath. I'm sorry. For everything. For the lies, the silence, the fear. I ruined you. I ruined us. I leaned against the counter, arms crossed. Keep going, her voice cracked. I thought I was strong, but when the board threatened you, I broke. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want you dragged into my world. You dragged me in anyway, I said quietly. Rain tapped against the window as she trembled. I know, and it kills me. Every day. I didn't answer. She kept talking because she had to be, because the truth was finally spilling out. I feared losing everything, she said. The company, the position, my family's trust. But the thing I lost was you, and that was the one thing I couldn't live without. I swallowed hard. Then why didn't you come to me earlier? Why wait until the world exposed Adrian? She stepped closer. Because I'm a coward. And because I thought you hated me. I tried, I admitted. I really tried, her breathing hitched. Do you still hate me now? No, I said. But I don't understand you. She wrapped her arms around herself like she was holding her heart together. I loved you. More than anything. But I was scared that if I showed you the ugly side of my world, you'd walk away. So I left first. That doesn't make sense, I said. You don't protect someone by breaking them. Her chin quivered. I know, and I'm sorry. I'm more sorry than you'll ever understand. I finally asked the question that had been burning inside me since the night she abandoned me. Arya, I said softly, do you still love me? Or do you just love the memory of us? She looked stunned, then her eyes filled with tears. I never stopped loving you, she whispered. Not for a second. But I know I don't deserve you. I know I hurt you in ways you didn't deserve, and I can't erase that. All I can do is tell you the truth now. I took a slow step toward her. Her breath caught. She whispered, Ethan, if you tell me to leave forever, I will. If you tell me you never want to see me again, I'll disappear. But if there's even a small place in your heart that still holds me, her voice cracked, I'll spend the rest of my life earning it back. I lifted my hand, gently brushing her cold fingers. She closed her eyes like my touch was a mercy she didn't believe she deserved. I don't know, I whispered. I don't know if I can take you back. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out, only a broken breath. I held her fingers a little tighter. But, I whispered, I can't let you go either. Her eyes flew open, shining with pain and hope. Ethan, don't, I said softly. Let me finish. She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. You hurt me more than anyone ever has, I said. But you're also the woman I still think about every night. You're still the voice in my head when everything gets quiet. You're still the person I wake up wanting to forget. And fail every time. Arya covered her mouth as a sob escaped. I felt my chest tighten painfully. I don't know what we are now. I don't know if we can fix this. But I can't pretend you don't matter. Not anymore. She stepped forward just enough for our hands to touch fully. Ethan, she whispered, tell me what to do. Shook my head. I don't have the answer yet. Her tears hit my wrist. Warm despite the cold rain still clinging to her clothes, I met her eyes broken, hopeful. Honest Anne said the truth that scared me more than losing her ever did. I don't know if I can take you back, but I can't let you go either. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the city lights through my window. Mira leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. You're overthinking it, she said. I can't, I muttered. Everything I am now, everything I built, it all started because of her, and yet it almost destroyed me. You're not the man you were, Mira said sharply. You're stronger, smarter. You've survived the shadows she pulled you into. Don't let yourself fall back into them. Rue appeared from the kitchen, sipping his coffee. She's asking for a chance, Ethan, but it's not the same as before. You can't lose yourself again. I rubbed my eyes. But it's hard not to remember the nights I stayed awake, wondering if I even existed to her. Mira stepped closer. You existed, Ethan, and she knew it. That's why she's here, asking you to rebuild something real, not a repeat of the past. I exhaled. And if I say no? Then you walk away, and you survive, Rue said calmly. But that doesn't seem like you. I clenched my fists. I don't want to lose myself. But I don't want to lose her either. The next night, I found her waiting outside the company building. The same hallway where everything collapsed months ago. Her hair fell in wet strands over her face, and her hands trembled as she reached for mine. Ethan, she whispered, I'm not asking to reset the past. I'm asking to build something better. With you, I took a deep breath, the memories of betrayal and heartbreak pressing against me. You know this isn't easy, I said. I know, she replied, but I can't keep running from the truth. I love you, Ethan. I always have. And I'm willing to face the consequences if you give me a chance. I looked down at her trembling hands in mine. They felt fragile, human, real. I could feel every ounce of fear, guilt, and hope running through her. Mira and Rue are right, I said finally. I'm not the man I was before you left. I can't let myself be broken by the past again. But I also can't pretend I don't still feel everything for you. Her eyes glistened with tears. Then, I stepped closer. Then we do this carefully. Together, not as the shadows we survived, but as the people we've become. She nodded, biting her lip to hold back a sob. I can do that, I said softly. Because we've both changed. Because I've changed. The hallway smelled faintly of rain and asphalt, but it felt like home. I held her hands tighter. This isn't a promise that everything will be perfect. It's a promise that I won't walk away again. Not from you. Not from us. She smiled through her tears. I've waited my whole life to hear you say that. I pressed my forehead against hers. Then let's start building. From here. From now. For the first time in months, the weight in my chest lifted. The fear, the anger, the nights spent alone wondering if love was even real, they all began to fade. I whispered, we define this. Not the past. Not anyone else. Just us. Her hand squeezed mine. Just us. And in that moment, standing in the same hallway where everything fell apart, I finally felt the future in my hands, and I chose to hold it with her.